All right, everyone, welcome back to my new YouTube channel, Invest the Rest. And I really have something special for you today. I think you're going to enjoy this information and this update. This video is really going to highlight on my saying over the past few videos, more time in the market equals more money. So what I want to do today is take a look at my main account and specifically the high yield dividend payments that I've received and some of the experience that I've gained over the past year and a half. I started this high yield ETF account around the end of 2023. I've been dabbling in the stock market through different stocks and funds since about early 2020. But I didn't start the high yield ETF fund until about 2023. And a lot of this experience really fueled the strategy for my $10,000 high yield dividend account for 2025. This account and this information in this video is really going to highlight the potential of the snowball effect some of these funds can produce and give you a little bit of insight into my journey up until this point. This account is made up of primarily funds from 6 different companies, which include YieldMax, Simplify, Roundhill, Crane Shares, Curve, and JP Morgan. Okay, and those are funds that I've looked into, I liked, I thought were beneficial to my portfolio, and I've added as the years have gone on. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And this video is really a discussion of my financial journey and for entertainment purposes for everybody here. I always recommend that you do your own research, understand the products that you're investing in, and make sure that they're right for you and for your financial strategy. That's most critical, that you pick things that are correct for your goals and what you're trying to achieve. So without further ado, let's get into the spreadsheet. I've put this spreadsheet together, and what this spreadsheet shows is every dividend payment that my account has received since I started investing on September 29th, 2023. You can see on September 29th of 2023, I received my first dividend payment from a fund called SVOL for $39. I picked SVOL at the time because I felt that was one of the more stable, high yield ETFs that were available. And actually, SVOL has proved to be a very, very stable fund over the past year and a half to 2 years. Once I got familiar with that, I did some more research, and in October, I expanded my portfolio with an additional 2 funds. TSLY, which is a YieldMax fund, and KLIP, which is from Crane Shares. And I received, about $190 in dividends in the month of October. So I went from 39 to 190, investing slowly, watching the behavior of the funds, seeing what I liked, seeing what I didn't like, and while also monitoring the account, looking up new funds and doing additional research. So in November of 2023, I expanded my portfolio extensively. I picked up QQQY, WDTE, and then Coney, Navdi, AMZ, Aptly, Nefli, GUI, and Phoebe. All of those all of those funds are from YieldMax, okay? I'm a big proponent of YieldMax. I invest in them heavily. It has served me well so far. They're not for everybody. And a very important thing to keep in mind for YieldMax funds is you want to dollar cost average. Don't make an investment all at once. You'll see as we move down here in the shares column that I started tracking the shares that I had at the time, and you'll see some of these funds continue to increase over time. And that's me dollar cost averaging to make sure that my cost basis is as low as possible. If you buy TSLY at its highest point, the fund may not work well for you. And it could really show up as negative performance in your portfolio. All that being said, the month of November 2023, we jumped up to $617.92. After that, we continued to buy. We added JEPQ to the mix. We also added AMDY, JPMO, and FEPI. And I would like to say FEPI, it's kind of along the lines of SVOL in the sense that it has done very well in my account. It has proved to be very stable and provide very consistent dividends. Yield max funds are a little bit all over the place, depending on the month and how the underlying does. But some of these funds that are a composite of many underlying stocks and have a different strategy than yield max have proved a little bit more stable. So we went from $618 to about $846 in the month of December, and we ended 2023 with $1,692. And during this time, I did a lot of extensive research, and I made sure I understood these accounts. So we started 2024 off right out of the gates. January, we made $1,200 in dividends that month. We added IWMY. We added some more Coney. Also added PYPY, which is the Yield Max PayPal covered call strategy, SQY, MSFO. And then we started to look. We said, okay, I said to myself, and I've promoted diversity many times in a portfolio in my previous videos. And I said, okay, I have a lot of yield max, right? What other funds are available out there? And NFLP and AMZP, although they still trade on Netflix and Amazon as the underlying, it's from a different company, which is Curve, okay? So I started getting into that. I also introduced Maxi, which is a high yield account from the same makers of SVOL. And all things added together, I was able to make $1,205 in January of 2024. And to see the success so early on in my portfolio really fueled my excitement for the future. February, I just continued adding to many of the same funds. I didn't add too many funds other than AIYY and YMAX. YMAX is a composite of all the other yield max funds, and it invests in its own yield max fund. So for instance, even though YMAX is still a yield max product, it buys many, I think it's the top 8 funds that Yield Max has. It trades covered call options on underlying stocks, and it invests in its own fund. So basically what that means is it gives you the diversity without having to invest in 8 individual Yield Max funds. You can just buy all of that. You can put all that money into YMAX and get the same type of exposure. Again, I like to do it myself, so I invested in both, all the individual funds as well as YMAX. Again, YMAX was newer at the time. I wanted to see how it reacted. I wanted to see how it performed before I jumped in with both feet. So February 2024, we got up to $1,550. March of 2024, we made another $500 jump and got up to just over $2,000 a month in dividend payments. We added JEPI, JEPI, and then we continued to build, right? I took a break from adding any new funds, but just continued to build the number of shares I owned of each. Again, we're getting $2,000 per month at this point in dividend payments, and my plan is to reinvest that, okay, in the same funds. I want to continue this dividend payment snowball. As you can see, from March to April, again, we made another almost $500 jump to $2,446. Continuing to add funds. Couple funds that I picked up were QDTE and XDTE, which are the Roundhill investment funds that have proved to perform very well. Those at the time were some of the only funds paying weekly. So as you can see here, I have a payment on the 5th from QDTE, a payment on the 12th from QDTE, a payment on the 19th. So this was an interesting concept in a world where high yield dividend funds were paying a monthly dividend. Roundhill came out and offered a weekly paying dividend. So we got up to $2,500 a month. May stayed about the same. I believe, if I remember correctly, the market dipped a little bit. Dividend payments were less. We did pick up SPYT as another fund. Again, continuing to do that research and expand the diversity in the portfolio. As you can see, I started a couple different brokerages accounts because it made it easier for me to track it. So I do have a Schwab and Fidelity account that I have for high yield dividends. But again, that's just for diversity, for my own sanity, if nothing other than for security purposes. If something were to happen at Schwab from a security perspective, half my money is okay at Fidelity. I'm all about diversification. So that's May of 2024. June of 2024, we jumped up again to just under $3,100, $3,055.77 from $2,560. So just about another $500 jump. Continuing to expand our holdings, continuing to reinvest that $3,000 into our holdings, and add any funds along the way that seem to be good investments. Two of those in June of 2024 were YMAG and then also QQQI. And actually, so YMAG is the one that invests in the Magnificent Eight, and YMAX has a little bit more diversification across the Yield Max funds. So in June, 3,055. July, 3,022. Dividends can take a dip. You're not going to get consistent dividends across the board. It's very determinant on how the market responds, what the market is doing. Is it up? Is it down? They're trading options on these funds, and that can be very volatile at times. July 2024, I bought USOY. I believe we also added YBIT, which is a Bitcoin-centered high-yield dividend ETF, and then MSTY and ULTY. For those of you that have seen my options trading account for 2025, if you're watching those updates, you'll know MSTY is actually in both the options account and the high-yield dividend account. MSTY has proven to be very profitable for me based on my experience. So we go down through the rest of July and we made $3,022. So what I want to highlight right here is, what is this break? $17,199. I would be remiss if I did not highlight the fact that these funds do go up and down in value. And you do need to track the capital gains you are experiencing or the capital losses you're experiencing with the price of these funds. It's not all about the dividend payments. The cash flow, the income, that is the goal of this account. But you need to make sure that you are making money overall, okay? This highlighted section in gray from the top of the spreadsheet all the way down to July of 2024, it is currently, my account has lost $17,199 in the price of these stocks. I continue to dollar cost average. That continues to help my cause. But all dividends up until this point have basically evened out, okay, with the capital losses I have seen. These accounts are also very volatile, okay? Just, I think, right around the end of 2024, maybe November, December timeframe, this $17,000 number was only $8,000. Okay, we've had a very tumultuous beginning to 2025, and I cover that in some of my previous videos. But I wanted to highlight that because that is something I feel is necessary to track, so I maintain awareness of my overall net gain or loss. Now, the good news, that's the bad news. What is the good news? The good news is that everything from here on out is purely profit. So we got through July. In August of 2024, we saw $3,000 and just under $100 in dividend payments. Again, I think this was a time, July, August, where I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with this account. I was doing quite a bit of research, and so I let some of that cash sit in my account while I performed that research, and just continued to take that consistent $3,000 a month. So you'll see many of the same holdings, if not all of the same holdings in August. September, we made some more moves. We jumped up another $450 to $3,552 in the month of September of 2024. So a year after starting this, okay, September 2023, $39. September 2024, $3,552. Now, that's not just reinvesting the dividends. Again, I always add any extra money I have, discretionary income, and I put it in these accounts. So it's not just a snowball effect, but a lot of it is, okay? So we keep moving down here. Again, many of the funds stayed the same. I was doing more research. I did pick up QQQI in a very small share, only 10 shares of QQQI, again, just to see how it was doing. I did have VYM, VUG, some more growth-centered funds. I just wanted to balance my portfolio out a little bit. It was getting quite volatile. But again, $3,552 in the month of September. Scrolling down to October, again, another great jump, really fantastic, $4,118 in the month of October. Many of the same funds. I did pick up CRSH, which is a short version of TSLY. So TSLY is a bull market type product, and CRSH is a bear market. And I said, well, I don't really care about capital gains, capital losses. All I care about is the dividend income, right? The income payment. So if I own CRSH and TSLY, one goes up, the other one goes down, then they flop. It doesn't matter. The capital gains should about even out, but I still get all the dividend payments. So I was experimenting with that strategy a little bit by buying both of those in the month of October. Let's see, continues to go down through all the yield max funds here. One thing you'll see is yield max around this time transitioned from a monthly paying dividend fund to a weekly paying. And actually in the industry, you'll see a lot of these funds have transitioned from being a monthly paying ETF to a weekly paying ETF. So you have YMAX, YMAG, okay, those two went weekly, but TSLY, CRSH, all of the single underlying option trading funds stayed monthly. So you'll see in my spreadsheet here, YMAX and YMAG occur multiple times throughout the month. Okay, and the dividend is lower, right? Because they pay what they make. They don't save it at the end of the month. They pay it out weekly. So again, October, $4,118. Going down to November of 2024, not too long ago, again, $4,145. All of the same funds. Trying to figure out, I think during this time, I was trying to figure out the weekly payments, the schedule. You can see the monthly tallies got quite a bit longer. And I didn't invest in anything new. It's just because many of the funds went from a monthly paying to a weekly paying fund, and I had to add 4 lines per month for some funds instead of only 1. So more payments to track, $4,145 in November. And then October, I got some data left I got to fill in here. But in December of 2024, $4,370 in dividend payments. All of the same funds, continuing to grow the portfolio. Obviously, December was a good month for the stock market. My capital gains at this time was much lower than $17,000. I should say capital losses, right? My capital losses were much lower than this number up here, the 17,200. I think in December they were about 8 to 10. And then I was continuing with my $4,370 payments every single month. Now, we finished out December, and what I want to show you back at the top of this spreadsheet right here, what we have is our 2024 dividend total, and I made $35,132 in dividends in 2024. Even if I were to sell and liquidate my entire portfolio today, I would minus that $17,200 from this number, and that would be my total gains, right? Including my dividends from 2023, we would add that in. And that's if I liquidated today, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to wait for the funds to go up. If I ever did want to sell anything, I'm going to wait for them to appreciate in value. Getting into January of 2025, right? Right now, we are up to $1,177 in January. You can see down here, some of these funds have announcements next week. The 15th is the announcement. The 16th is the ex-dividend. We got IWMY, QQQY, WDTE. I got to get the announcement dates in there. But this is how I track it. And I go right down my history column in my brokerages accounts. And this is a really high-level summary. It's a great way for me to summarize the behavior and track the progress of this account and this strategy that I'm going to continue to use 2025 and hopefully beyond, assuming it continues to perform. So that's how I track my high yield dividend brokerage accounts. I'll show you, obviously, the total right now for 2025 is that $1,200, if you round up, that is. But yeah, December was $4,300 plus. That's my expectation for all 12 months of 2025. And I'll continue to reinvest that $4,000 into additional funds where I feel is appropriate based on what the market is doing every single month. So, obviously this account has less structure than some of the strategies that my $10,000 account series for 2025. I have the growth series, the option trading series, and the high dividend ETF series. Those are very structured. We're going to stick to the exact strategy for those accounts. This account here is how I got started. This account was my experimentation. This account was how I learned. If nothing else, that $17,000 that I'm technically down if I were to liquidate my account today, $17,200 in unrealized gains, that's the cost of knowledge, okay? That's the cost to me to learn how to invest in some of these funds. And I want to highlight that because people need to realize it's not going to be positive all the time. You have to incur a cost of learning. You're going to make mistakes. I made many mistakes along the way. But after 2 years of doing this and learning and refining my strategy, I feel much better prepared for my financial future. So that's the quick update. I wanted to do something different, show you some of my experience, and I hope this inspires you to learn about your financial situation, your financial strategy, and your journey to financial freedom. If you found this information valuable, entertaining, like below, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out to continue to provide content like this. And I think it's fun. I think we can create a community here and really discuss different ideas and different financial strategies for not only 2025, but many years beyond. So as always, everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.